airplane mode.
Everyone, let's get into this video today. Thank you for clicking on the video, and we are going to be flying the 747 today. As you can see, we already have it set up. We're going from Auckland to Rarotonga International. I have the EFB open, so we're going to go to Flight Planner and click this page right up here. So if you're lucky, it set it up already. It gave us a VFR flight plan, which isn't what we want, so we're going to go ahead and change that up here. Go to IFR. You could fill all this up. I'm not going to fill it up here. Remarks, flight type, blah blah blah. But if you want to fill it up, you can. Flight level. So we're going east, so we want an odd flight level. So let's say we'll go up to flight level 370, something like that. So 370 is now set up there. 23. So we got to change departure procedure. So we're going to find a departure. I'm using onlineflightplanner.org to help me out here. So it's telling me that my first SID has to be to AKLOM, AKLOM. So I'm going to go see if there's any transition. There it is, AKLOM transition. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that. Let's go to New Zealand and see what it looks like. So it looks like we are departing runway 23, so departing somewhat west and just making a turn out and going to AKLOM here. So we're going to press change procedure. Then I have we're going to Bixit, so I'm going to go ahead and change that and choose Bixit after. I don't know if you can actually, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to go and set our approach. We'll choose ILS runway 8. We'll leave it at that for now. And then I have to set my arrival. So my arrival is a star from Bixit. I'm going to see if there's Bixit. There we go, Bixit transition. And there is our star. So it looks good going to Bixit. So change procedure. And see, the middle of our flight plan is kind of empty. We just have our SID and our star, so we'll see if there are any waypoints in the middle that we can kind of just make it more complete looking flight plan. So I have to press find route, and there might not be any waypoints. It might just leave it. Alright, there we go. So I added a few right in the middle there, not bad. And that is our flight set here. One thing, don't forget, send it to ATC and avionics, and now you will be able to see the flight plan on your map here. If we zoom in, we can see that SID is set up, and so is our star in Rarotonga. Alright, so that is flight setup done. That's how we set up our flight here, and now we actually have to fly the plane. Let's go. And on the 747, I've realized that the engines don't start automatically as they should. So don't forget, come up here and start all 4 engines. Alright. And contact clearance while we do this and get our flight clearance here. Request IFR clearance. Clearance is given. So they told us to fly via departure, AKLOM transition, 23 left, climb via the SID and maintain 250. So go ahead and set our altitude 250. That's the highest altitude that we've been cleared to for now. And we have to brief our departure here. So let's open up the charts and find our SID. It's usually in green. There it is. So we are on the FIRT 3 Papa departure, which is this one. So we are climbing. Max 250 knots, at or below, no, that's at or above 4,000, at or above 6,000. And then we go to Firth, and then we are off to AKLOM, wherever AKLOM is. It's one of these transitions. There it is, AKLOM transition. Perfect. Alright, cool. So I like these type of departures because we don't have any altitude restrictions. I mean, well, we do, but not, we don't have to stay below an altitude. We could just climb as fast as we want, and holding max 250 knots. So we are gonna go ahead and set up our autopilot here while we're up. Turn on auto throttle, and I like to maintain something about 230, after departure. So there it is. Let's set up our flight level 370. Set my cost index to something right in the middle. Go to 50. Oop, I don't want to go to 5 minus something, just 50. Alright, 0 fuel weight. Double click that. I don't have any reserve fuel, even though I should. I just fill it up to whatever I need. And now for departure. I usually like to set something about 50 here for our departure, which will derate our engines a bit, but that's fine. We got 96% on the thrust, and now we have to set up our departure. So I'm gonna go ahead and set flaps 5 for departure. Center of gravity, double click. Oh, invalid entry on flaps 5. Isn't there a 5 position here? Alright, I'll put 10. There it is. Alright, flaps 10. Alright, and center of gravity. Why does that not work? Oh, did my center of gravity change? Yeah, alright. There we go. Trim 2.8. So we set up our center of gravity and trim 2.8. So I'm going to set my trim before I forget here, because I always forget on this plane. Trim is right there. And I have a trim button. It's not working. Trim. Alright, there we go. Trimming up. I want to set, alright, 2.6 is fine. 2.8, we have it at 2.6, and we'll set our V speeds. So we're rotating at 141. That's the most important speed. 141 on rotate. V2 161. And that is, I think that's everything. I think you guys got to bear with me with these buttons not working. Yeah, there we go. Alright. Alright, perfect. So that's set. We briefed our departure. Now let's contact some kind of ground here for pushback, and we'll request pushback clearance.
On the ground, swag Lima Tango Lima 9er, gate 9er, information Quebec. Request pushback.
Swag Lima Tango Lima 9er, Oakland.
Oh.
Pushback approved.
Alright, so pushback is approved. Contact ground services here. And tell them to push us back.
On the ground, swag Lima Tango Lima 9er,
Alright.
requesting pushback.
Swag Lima Tango Lima 9er, pushback request accepted.
Alright, cool. So we're going to turn parking brakes off here. Parking brake. Alright, there we go. Starting our pushback. Gonna run into the jetway. Alright, and now we have to brief our taxi here. So we go to the flight plan page. And we got to figure out where we are with respect to the airport here. So zoom. Alright, so we are right there. So we're on the west side of the airport. So let's open up our ground chart. Airport ground chart, blah blah blah. Well, I'm a 747, so I could open this one up. So it's just kind of telling us which taxiways we're going to take, but we're parked somewhere up here, so we're probably going to just take taxiway, looks like that's taxiway Alpha all the way down to runway 23 left. Alright, cool. So it looks like we're just going to get taxiway Alpha. So let's go ahead and contact ground again. Alright, so we got to go all the way down to Alpha 1 over there. Okay, perfect. So acknowledge that taxiway clearance. So Kilo Alpha 1. So Kilo, this taxiway, going down to Alpha, and then Alpha 1 here. So we just got to try to find Kilo. And anyway, we should be good to find taxiway Alpha. So let's get this airplane turned. Our wing is going to clip the jetway, but that's what's fun about simulation. You don't have to worry about that too much. So we are just going to be using taxiway alpha all the way down. Is that the runway over there, or is that another taxiway? No, it looks like we're on alpha. Alright, cool. So, taking alpha all the way down now in the 7-4. And request takeoff clearance from Auckland Tower. Perfect.
Auckland Tower, swag Lima, Tango Lima, 9er.
Was 1018. That's 3006. Which is set. Alright, let's line up on the runway here, and we'll just get everything set up while we are there. We have most everything set up, but alright, so final little departure check here. Gonna set that to rejected takeoff. I like setting VLNAV. I'm gonna set flight director on. I like setting LNAV for after departure, and just get my heading on runway heading. So we're taking off runway 23, so I'm gonna go ahead and set that to right about 230 here. Get vertical speed on and set it to about 2000. So speed, vertical speed set, heading in case LNAV doesn't kick in, and we'll bring our range out so we could actually see our takeoff. So we want to be at or above 4,000 at this point, and then at or above 6,000 if I remember correctly on my takeoff chart. So we are cleared for takeoff. Looking for 96% thrust on takeoff. Here we go. Alright, engines are stable, and setting takeoff thrust now to about 96. That's 92, 3, 4. Alright, there we go. Right about at 96. Alright, try to keep it on the center line here, and we're rotating at 140 knots because we're not very heavy today. That's about 130 there. E1 and rotate. Alright, off the ground, positive rate, and gear up. Landing gear? What are you talking about?
Swag Lima Tango Lima 9er. 9er contact New Zealand Center on 119.2. Good day.
Alright, told us to contact New Zealand Center, so I'm going to go ahead and do that.
119.2 for swag Lima, Tango, Lima, 9er.
Bring my trim down a little bit here as we're flying out, and I turn autopilot on. So, autopilot's on. Alright, a little bit of lag here. I'm going to put our vertical speed up higher because I think the 7.4 can climb faster. Alright, so autopilot's on, LNAV, VNAV, speed hold, or sorry, LNAV, vertical speed and speed hold. Alright, and we're going to go ahead and tune New Zealand Center and contact.
New Zealand Center, swag Lima, Tango, Lima, 9er. Is at 2,900 climbing flight level 250.
Alright, and flap's going to come up here.
Swag Lima, Tango, Lima, 9er.
Alright.
New Zealand Center, QNH 1018. Radar contact, continue to Langu.
Alright, so just continue to Langu, which is our waypoint that we are heading to.
9er. Expect flight, level tree 70. Keep speed, not above 250 knots.
Yep. Alright, so we already... Oh, shit. Pressed the wrong button. So we already knew, we briefed it, not above 250, and at or above 4,000 at Maglow. Alright, so at this point, I think I could turn VNAV on. So we're going to be flying VNAV speed and thrust reference. So we're going to be, plane's going to be wanting to maintain that 250 knot speed limit there. And I'm actually going to go to my legs page and see what LNAV and VNAV. So yeah, 250, 6,000 above, 4,000 above. Making that left turn now after Lingdu. So yeah, vertical speed's making us climb nice and fast now because we're a light 747, it seems like. Turning towards Raglow. Alright, we're actually gonna derate our engines here because we're going climbing quite fast here. But I'm not sure where to do that. Index thrust limit. Yeah, there we go. I'm gonna set it to climb 2 here. There we go. So that's gonna make our engines go down and then make our vertical speed come down also, so that we're not climbing like a rocket. Alright, and now making another left turn to turn towards our destination. Hope you guys enjoyed that 747 takeoff. Was a nice, easy, simple takeoff. I like the ones where you don't have any, you know, ceiling, altitude ceiling. It's just add or above, so you're just climbing up nice and fast. It cleared us to 250, but still not to 370. So keeping an eye on that. And we derated our climb a little bit to 84, so now the vertical speed looks a little better. We passed through 10,000 feet, so we are technically we should still be maintaining that 250 knot speed clearance or speed restriction, but whatever. VNAV just went for it, so we passed through 10,000 feet and speeding up. There we go. And we're using less fuel also here with our engines not pressing as much. And let's get rid of all these messages here. I didn't turn the packs on. Alright, there we go. And forgot all the landing lights. Forgot every single light. Anyway, they're all off anyway now, so as we're flying. Looks like we're getting 2 hour speed here, so. And getting to Brook where we had to be at or above 6,000. As you can tell, we're at or above 15,000, so we're respecting that restriction, that floor. Alright, looks like the game stopped lagging a bit, which is cool. And we are just going to wait for them to give us that clearance up to 370, so still climbing at 2.5. And we'll be expecting that 370 shortly. There we go. So it kind of shows you where you're at on your SID. So we took off and made those 2 left turns, and now flying up. Flying to the Cook Islands. I don't think I've ever landed over there. It's going to be a nice nice little flight, I think. Got blue water coming out of New Zealand here. Gonna be going to the Pacific Ocean. Alright guys, so that's pretty much it for our departure in the Boeing 747. I'm gonna check this altitude. So it looks like we're gonna be at 250 right at Firth, and then they'll be clearing us up to 370, and we'll be flying all the way to the Cook Islands, little island, middle of the Pacific Ocean. I think there's a few islands there that they fly, that you can fly. Let me check real quick. Cook Island. I don't know if it's an island. I'm pretty sure it's a Cook Islands. Yeah, so there's a few of them. But I guess we'll be landing on that main one that has an airport on it. We'll brief that landing as we get closer over there. It's going to be a nice landing in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Hopefully it'll still be daytime. I think it should still be daytime over there. I think we're getting even further into the day. Alright, so we are, flight level 230? There we go, so I think we'll be getting that 370 call. Perfect. Oh my god, so annoying. Yes, acknowledge the instruction. Like, why does it not click where I click? I'm like over this button, but it makes me click the altitude hold. Alright. So we're going to flight level 370, setting that up now. 370. That's 371, and that's 370. And we acknowledge that. Perfect. Alright, so we should be climbing up to 370. Looks like we're maintaining that altitude. Forgot what button I have to press here. There's like an altitude intervention button here. VNAV, flight level change. That'd be an altitude intervention type thing. Damn, I don't fly this plane enough to know. VNAV altitude, yeah. Boom, go. Climb. 370. Ah, there it is. Enable altitude intervention. Alright, you just had to click the altitude thing. It's nice to know. It'd be cool if it said it on it here. Oh yeah, I'm trying. I couldn't find the button, mister. Relax. Do I have to acknowledge that? Alright, no, that's fine. Alright, cool. So it told me to expedite my climb, which I am doing now. Alright, so that'll be it now for the departure, and I'll see you guys on the landing later in the Cook Islands. See ya.